Hey everybody, welcome to DocSports.com's 10 and 10. He's Tony George, I'm Scott Spreitzer. We got bowl action, we got the NFL. Stick around. All right, let's talk about some bowl action in just a second. First, a real quick note. If you would like to just give it a try over at DocSports.com, a trial run, real cool way to do it. All you got to do is click on the link below the video, get yourself set up for a free $60 account. You can use those free $60 on any of Tony's daily packages, any of mine, anybody else on the roster over at DocSports.com. And it comes with the DocSports guarantee. It's as simple as that. Get started by clicking on the link below the video. Let's get to it, Tony George. We got the Frisco Bowl on Friday night. Kent State and Utah State. And listen, we're shooting these midweek, and I think you probably heard the news by now. This line was upwards of 7.5, with Kent State being the dog, all the way down to 4.5, as Jordan Love, the quarterback for Utah State, and several other athletes were found to be in possession, allegedly, of marijuana. And we have not yet heard if he's going to play or not. And obviously, he's the key cog to this Utah State offense, Tony.
Yeah, he is. You know, you had a really good quarterback set up here with Dustin Crum from Kent State, and, of course, Jordan Love, the only returning starter out of the top 11 from last year's great Utah State team. This line has dropped 3 points, 3.5 points as we tape this, so we really don't know the outcome of this game yet. So stay tuned, folks. Get over to Doc Sports. Check out all the updates we'll have on this for you as the week rolls along. New Mexico Bowl, Central Michigan taking on San Diego State. Scott, a couple of really, really good coaches in this ball game with Rocky Long and, of course, Jim McElwain. Got Matt Coach of the Year, ex-Florida guy, ex-Saban disciple here. Interesting contrasting styles here. San Diego State likes to grind it out, 19 points a game, and of course Central Michigan, a high-flying offense that didn't look very good in the MAC championship game, I might add.
Yeah, they got stunned by Miami, Ohio, because they want to be able to run that football, and they got shut down. And Rocky Long, as you mentioned, he's all about stout defense and running the football. The total's 41. If it's a Central Michigan game, boy, they're going to want to get to 41. First team to 41 wins is what their idea is, while San Diego State would like to be first team to 17.
Yeah.
The thing about San Diego State, about this Aztec team, this year, they're 11-1 to the under in 12 games, and I think it's going to go that way again. They'll be able to run the football. Central Michigan is going to run the football a little bit, but I think you're going to see a low-scoring game. So I'm going to call for the under in this particular bowl game between Central Michigan and San Diego State. Tony, we got the Liberty Georgia Southern clash next. It is the Cure Bowl. Georgia Southern laying 58.5. Liberty in their first bowl game ever.
Contrasting styles here, because I'm wondering about Liberty, you know, has been talked about back and forth. Hugh Freeze took over for Turner Gill down there, ex-Nebraska boy, who kind of got them going and got some good players in there, inherited them. But I'm telling you, I'm a little concerned about how Liberty's going to handle this Georgia Southern triple option attack, because they like to throw the ball with Calvert, who's a good quarterback, I might add, for Hugh Freeze here, but they can't stop the ball. As a matter of fact, that clock-eating offense of Georgia Southern wearing down that defense there, I think there really might be a touchdown difference between these two, Scott, in my opinion, as we switch gears to the Boca Raton Bowl. SMU, big story this year, taking on FAU. Of course, the story in this game, Lane Kiffin is gone, and I'm going to get your opinion on something I want to say here.
Okay.
Many times we talk about bowl games, and we talk about coaching changes and how it affects a team or not. And sometimes they rally around it, sometimes they trip and fall. But I don't think there's any team in the country that had more of a branded identity than the Owls with Lane Kiffin as head coach. And I want your thoughts on this going into this game, because Sonny Dykes is no slouch either.
Well, I'm going to save my overall big thoughts on this game for our marquee matchup. It's one of our two marquee matchups this week, this particular game. But I will say this, watch our bowl, how to handicap the bowls video we did last week. Still good to go because none of the bowls have started. But, you know, one of the things you look at this game, you've got a coaching move. Lane Kiffin, as Tony said, no longer with FAU. He took the job at Ole Miss, but you've also got a team playing on its home field at FAU. Yeah. Will it cancel each other out? Check out the marquee matchup. Tony, let's head to Saturday's NFL. Big game. Bills at the Pats. Patriots laying 6.5, total 38.5. That final score by New England last week, 34-13 over Cincy, little misleading.
Why are they laying 6.5? I've been on the Bills and against the Pats all year long, Scott. This game here, what was 16-10?
Sure.
Brady had 150 yards and no touchdowns up in Buffalo first time around here, and I still don't see a fully functioning offense from New England here. On the other side of the coin, you saw just how good the Buffalo Bills defense was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Steelers wanted to give them 4 turnovers, but some of those were forced. Great defensive secondary here. I think this is going to be a grind. 38.5 seems like a lot of points in this one, Scott, just out of the gate to me. And I don't know if it's a low-scoring game. That brings big points into play. And, of course, 6.5 is a lot of points for this game. You know, a lot on the line in this ball game here for the New England Patriots.
Championship, baby.
And speaking a lot on the line here, the Saints and the Titans. Scott, Saints off a Monday Night Football win where the bar could not been set any higher on how well they played. Conversely, the Titans, the bar couldn't have been any lower on how they played this weekend. How do you see this one panning out?
Well, I went against the Titans and had Houston as my top 7 unit play on Sunday. Didn't have a premium pick on the Monday night game, but I did give a free pick out on the Colts. And let's just say this, man. Drew Brees could not miss. Almost literally, he goes 29 for 30 in that game against the Indianapolis Colts. It was a pretty amazing show. Now, can they get back to that level as far as their focus and their motivation and the intensity of that Monday night game when he was out to set records? At the same time, you've got Tennessee. They were in a horrible spot, let's face it. It's one of the reasons why I took the Texans last week. I think what you're going to see here is the New Orleans offense, which should do damage against the Tennessee defense. And the same thing for the Tennessee offense with Tannehill at quarterback. Listen, he's playing well. He's played much better than Mariota, and he gives this offense a consistent chance. Total's 50.5, but barring bad weather, I think this game goes over the total, Tony. Steelers at the Jets. Steelers laying 3, 38.5. Steelers still something to play for, not so much for those New York Jets.
The New York Jets, Le'Veon Bell gets to face his old team. He hit a season high last week of 87 yards rushing the football. That's a season high for Le'Veon Bell here. Scott, there's no doubt about it. This is a playoff game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an absolute must-win, and I don't like taking teams on the absolute must-win, but if you take a look across the board here, that defense of the Steelers is playing pretty good, and if you haven't seen this lately, Darnold and that offense of the Jets like to turn the ball over. You turn the ball over, if you're -2 in turnovers here, Steelers going to win this one here easily by a touchdown, and they're laying 3 points here. And by the way, talk about teams. We mentioned the Titans earlier setting the bar low. How low was the bar for the Cleveland Browns last week as they go on the road? Kitchen, once again, shows you why he's a horrible coach. The Arizona lights them up. And, of course, now they are at home as a 10-point underdog. And, by the way, I just want to top seed and home playoffs with a win for the Ravens. So they're coming in here not only for that to play for, Scott, but do I remember this right? The Browns actually beat the Ravens earlier this year.
They beat them. They put up over 40 points on the board against them.
Whoa.
They've still got an outside shot to make the postseason because Pittsburgh lost to Buffalo in Sunday Night Football. Here's the thing. The Ravens right now, or for the last 8 weeks or so, remind me of what we always said about the New England Patriots up until about 6 weeks ago, which is you either play on Baltimore or you pass the damn game. It's as simple as that because this offense is working right now in such a great, consistent manner, flowing like you wouldn't believe. If you watched their game last week, you saw Lamar Jackson tell the punt team to get off the field on a 4th down. That's how confident he is. And then he follows it up on the very next play with a 30-plus yard pass for a 1st down. He's playing at a different level than everybody else. Baltimore would be favored on a neutral field over everybody in the NFL right now. Here's the caveat. Yeah, they want to hand a loss back to Cleveland and exact some revenge. And they're going to want to play better defense than they did against Cleveland in that first go-around, and I believe they will. The caveat with backing Baltimore at this point, at 12-2, I know they want to wrap up home field advantage throughout the playoffs, but how long do you keep Lamar Jackson out there taking a chance of getting him hurt if they're up big starting the 4th quarter? You might want to sit him down. I don't know if John Harbaugh would do that. There's always that possibility of the backdoor cover. Real quick, trend of the week is in this game. If a home team is off a loss by 14 or more as a favorite, they're 5-0 under this season, 15-0 under the last 3 seasons. How about 27-3 to the under the last 30 times Average combined points, 35 points per game in 30 games. That's a good sample size. I like this one to stay under the total, Tony. Let's talk about the marquee matchup, the Cowboys and the Eagles. Huge implications on the line here. Who's going to win the NFC East? Tony, what do you say? We'll save that for the marquee matchup.
Absolutely. And the last game, of course, here, beloved Kansas City Chiefs got it done in a big way against Denver last week. Matter of fact, I had Denver in that game, plus the number. Thought the weather was bad, thought it'd be low scoring.
Sure.
It was. Unfortunately, Drew Rock heading to Kansas City. Kind of a dud, Scott, but nonetheless here, the Bears at home catching 5. 45 is the number. And, of course, Nagy under his mentor now, going up against his mentor, Andy Reid here. And I guess for anything else here, I don't see a lot of points going to happen in this one. Maybe you could talk me out of it. Yeah. But the current run with the Chicago Bears and that offense is 16-5-1 against the spread on the under run here. And if you haven't noticed, I've said it a couple of times and you've ignored me, the Kansas City defense is playing better, a lot better. So maybe that plays into this under here a little bit. 45 seems a little bit high. And of course, on this one here, as always, in Soldier Field, you want to check the weather.
You'll be glad to hear that last week I didn't ignore you. I actually had the under between Denver and KC as a free pick video. However, in this game, well, I shouldn't even say however, I think it's going to continue to be a lower scoring game for KC. Not only is their defense playing better of late, maybe it's the competition. We'll see when the postseason rolls around. I don't trust Trubisky and the Bears offense against a good defense. Yeah. We saw him only score 13 points again last week. And in this particular game, I think you're going to see a well-played defensive game. It'll stay under 45.
Oh, by the way, Terrell Suggs is in town for the Kansas City Chiefs. They picked up Suggs this week, so maybe he may or may not play this game, but definitely down the road, that's going to help Kansas City with that pass rush.
Tony George, I'm Scott Spreitzer. That is this week's 10 and 10. Don't forget to check out the marquee matchups. Best of luck. Let's put them in the win column.